We might as well take it to the manifesto. First and foremost, I think what we're about here is we're moving beyond this idea of word of mouth or seeding. Right now, you, Nokia, and us together, if you look at the last 4 or 5, 6 years of how you and many brands have been approaching social media or social marketing, it's very much about word of mouth. Okay? It's about seeding. Okay? You'll hear those two words all the time from a mechanical standpoint, from an advertising standpoint, from a communication standpoint. It's about word of mouth. And we think word of mouth and seeding are very important exercises. But I think hopefully when you get through today and you start to explore and understand and experience and maybe start to grasp some of the additional tools that sit around and outside and extend the value of what word of mouth does and what seeding can do, I think hopefully you'll understand that we've got a framework here, hopefully, and some tools and some ideas for how you can take that into a much more, a more robust programmatic approach that goes beyond just simply word of mouth. But if you think about word of mouth, there's not a lot of control in that. Word of mouth is very typically digital PR almost, okay? So what we're going to suggest here is there's some really interesting ways with which we can engineer these contacts, okay? And we'll talk a lot about, some of the tools that we're going to suggest you can use to take content and messaging, okay? Instead of just seeding it, we're talking about optimizing it for search and distributing it into certain channels and platforms and publishing feeds where we can generate very relevant visibility for the brand, for our message and products and solutions, and thus traffic back to our platforms. The interesting and important thing about social is this idea of turning, we don't kid ourselves, we say some of our best media is our happiest customers. The idea of generating advocacy and referral and recommendation, extraordinarily important object for us in all our programs when it comes to social marketing. And this idea of findability, shareability, it sound like massive buzz terms, but the idea is if you think about our current state model for online advertising, and much of offline advertising as well, television and print around impressions, basically GRPs. If you think about, which is a great science, okay? It's a measurable science for advertising, for measuring reach and measuring response at some level, but most importantly, measuring how much you're spending. And what you seem to be getting for it. If we begin to think about moving just primarily from a world of impressions and clicks as a way of planning and understanding and valuing our investment in marketing, to this idea of how do we create findability, how do we create discoverability and shareability. It's an interesting way. If we get the tools right to do that, there's a massive efficiency to be gained inside our marketing.